Hi everyone, it's Adrienne Leah. This is an accumulated witchy haul video. So, when my husband and I went to the supermarket, they had some seasonal decorations, and I got a rabbit gnome. He stays in my closet and he is weighted. There is a button for his ears to light up. So I thought he is so cool. And he has a wooden design here. And over a week ago, we went to our local metaphysical shop, mainly because I had something on hold, because I wasn't sure if I was going to get it, but I was told by my goddess that it was something to get, and I'm so happy that I got it. It's this citrine pendant, and I love how warm it is, because I was looking through citrine for a while at the shops that we went to, and I didn't want something that was too yellow. But this one feels just like you can feel the warmth from it, and it's edged with gold, and then the top is gold too. So I just put it with a black cord, but it really offers something different to my jewelry, because I don't wear a lot of gold, and even though it's gold on the sides, it doesn't look too gold, which I like. Then at the same shop, I got the selenite disc. Eventually I might get one for another room so I don't carry this one around. But I wanted to use my wand because it's what I had, and I wanted to use it instead of having it sit there if I got another one. But it's getting damaged because of it being dropped a couple of times. So this is flat. It's not gonna roll off the table or anything. And I'm really happy that I got it. It was a bit of an investment. It wasn't too expensive, but you know, when you'd rather get something that's more fun. So this is very practical for me. I use this to charge my decks mainly, and I love how they fit right in. So if I wanted to carry it around, or how it fits right in. So I got a deck that I had previously in a way. So before I had the self-published Wild Unknown, the first edition, and it was interesting because when I posted a picture of the mass-produced one because I liked the backs, and instead somebody traded me the self-published one, and I thought, oh, that's cool because self-published is nice. But I traded that one because of the cardstock. I didn't enjoy how it shuffled. So I did miss the deck because although the imagery is not something that I am naturally drawn to in a way, I did really connect to the deck, and it was one of those decks that I read with well. So it was also an animal deck that I read with frequently too, besides my Animal Wise tarot. And it does categorize in the decks that I read fluently. So I put it in this bag, which is from Mary Bow. And when I got it, I knew that it was a connection with me. And it's also one of those decks where I don't get interference from it. It's interesting because I call my interference sometimes white noise, but the images look like white noise, but they also look primal too, because it seems like it's stripped down. And because the backs are different, it just feels like a new experience. Because sometimes when I get decks that maybe I replace or get a copy of, they feel like I'm not meant to have them, which hasn't happened a lot. It was only a couple of instances, less than a couple of instances, where that happened, where the energy just felt like it wasn't right and that I should have just not have gotten it. But this one, it feels so natural to me. And I love when they have turtles, like large turtles in here. And this deck feels brighter because a lot of times when they come out with newer decks, they tend to like up the saturation. And this one, I really like that they did that because it is a stripped down deck. I love the Emperor and Empress. I could have included it in my major favorites too. But I mean, it wasn't a surprise to me that I connected to the deck because I did read with it really well. And it's just one of those everyday type of decks for me when I do readings, because I have some general categories are decks that I read with multiple cards and decks that I meditate with, but sometimes they can fit in both categories. So I prefer the backs on these, and the cardstock is thinner, but it has the same matte finish. But because they're thinner, they're easier to shuffle. This was from Barnes & Noble, and a while ago, and that day I also got a notebook. So over the years, when I would get a notebook, I would get the same notebook. It was a leather notebook with no lines, and I like the flexibility because I'm a lefty, and I like having no lines because I write small. But the notebook that I chose is this Peter Popper Press Unicorn Tapestry Journal. So I just connected to it well because it reminded me of the Magical Unicorns Oracle, and I do read with that frequently, and that's the oracle that I use with my monthly readings. So it's edged in gold, and the lines are faint, so it doesn't bother me that there's lines there. Because I wanted to start having more therapeutic practices, so writing in my journal is definitely going to be a soothing experience for me. So another deck that I use for monthly readings is the Everyday Witch Tarot, which I put in here. I wanted to get a backup because it was going to get worn out, and I wanted it to be special, and I was thinking about having it in the list of decks for that I'd be interested in trading for, but I figured getting a newer copy would be more practical because that was going to get worn out too. So I got another copy of it, and this one's signed by the artist and the author, so it's special. I didn't open the cards, but they feel like from the outside that, and they look like they're the same cardstock. So I'm very happy with that. Then, along with that, I got the Everyday Witch Oracle. And I'm so happy that I got it. I held off on it for a while because this is signed too. Because I prefer tarot over oracle. Even though I've been getting a lot of oracle decks. But overall my collection is a lot more tarot than oracle. So the box has a matte finish. I love Elizabeth Alba's imagery, and I do connect with her illustrations because she's from Massachusetts, and that's where I'm from. So mainly the Northeast is where I grew up. I have a couple of favorites in here, but I love all the cards. And the main reason why I held off on it is because it wasn't because like of the author or the artist, but just an association that I had from watching a horror film. And I think you guys are going to know what the film is when I find the card. So this one was one that I wasn't sure, because if you guys have seen the horror film The Ring and then The Well, and then from a side angle I wasn't sure if I was going to think like that it would have her hair in a way that it was in the movie, but it doesn't, so it's great, and I love the deck. So my first card draw was this card, and this is one of my favorites, Affirmation for Growth. And interestingly, one of the cards that I have for my meditative draws is from the Spirit Animal Tarot, and I got these. So the Hanged Man was a card from yesterday, but it was in the 3rd position, but now it's in the 1st position, so it's more of like the past. So I've been feeling a lot of movement, and with the 8 of Fossils there too. And even with the Ace of Fossils, the Pentacles. So it's great. And along with getting it from the artist, because I got it from the artist, but the author also sells some on her Etsy shop too. She gives you some extra stuff. So I got the postcard, or not really a postcard because there's stuff on the back, of the Everyday Witch Oracle. So I love that. I really love this one because it reminds me of my cat, Kiki. My late cat Kiki, and she signed this one too. A sticker of the Everyday Witch Oracle back. I might send this to my best friend because she loves cats. And I love how she put one of her illustrations on the back of her business card. So I may or may not use the system for the Everyday Witch Oracle, but I know that I really connect the words to the imagery, so it works either way for me. I just love her. I'll show some of my favorites. I love the kitschiness of her artwork, and I love it. It just connects to me. I love this card. And I don't really like recommending decks because people have different tastes, but if you guys have similar tastes to me, I would recommend the Everyday Witch Tarot and Oracle. I love the tub in here. It just reminds me of New England, like the imagery of it, because it is a bit older looking up north. Even though the US is really modern compared to other parts of the world, those are New England in general is like the area that looks older compared to the US overall, because they were trying to make a New England. I love this one. This is so sweet. I love how the cat is helping its friend with the gardening. I love the organic imagery in this one. This one is gratitude and thanks, and it really feels like what the card says. I love the pinks and just the mixture of colors in here. It just looks very fun and feminine. And connect with Gaia. This reminds me of Hanged Man. And there's another one that reminds me of the Nine of Pentacles. I love how they use the same cardstock as the Everyday Witch Tarot. This one's a little thinner, but it's fine because it's bigger. And I just love the feminine colors in here. I love this one too because it's go with the flow, and the imagery is showing that she feels like serene and she feels okay and confident that there's a flow and if it's meant to be, it'll happen type of imagery, and she lets go of her oar. I just love Elizabeth Alba's artwork. So when I was looking through her shop, I did see that she did illustrate for a book called Gilly and the Snowcats, and it's about a girl wanting to race in the Iditarod with cats. And it's such a shamanic experience because I read it. I had credits for getting a book because of other purchases that I made. So I purchased the book, and it was only the online, the Kindle version, but I read through it quickly. It was a short read, but it was just so amazing because it goes through this literal transfiguration, and I mean even the transformation too. So it was an amazing book. And if you guys like cats, I think that you'll love the book too. And it does have to do with Alaskan shamanism too. So that was my haul. So I'm starting another tarot bag. This one I put on longer needles, but I wanted to do a ribbing pattern that was reminiscent of a hat. And I have a indicator of what side is which. This is a fairy house. I also trimmed one of my decks, and I was watching Texas Rose's birthday haul video. So happy birthday again, Nancy. And it was for the Sun and Moon Tarot. This was my full-size one. And I trimmed the edges. I had the small version for a couple years, but I wanted to get the larger version of it because the images are small and a bit narrow. So the person that gifted it to me already trimmed it, and it was a bit small for shuffling. It could still shuffle, but it wasn't as enjoyable. But I still love it, and I keep it around. This is the amount that I trimmed off. It came out a little smaller than my Slavic tarot, but I just trimmed the backs, went by the white border on the backs, because I just wanted to have the border a little smaller, because I don't mind the borders if it suits the deck. And I wanted to start just adding a little blue to the back, not too much. Since I'm using a cheap marker, sometimes it stops having as much ink, so then I stop for a while and then I go back to it. So it'll be a slower experience, but I love the way that it turned out. And it's a nice velvety cardstock. It's a bit thin, but when I trimmed it, it got a little thicker. This is really summery, and this is one that I connect to a lot. It's one of those fluent reeds, which I can read with the decks that I have, but there's just some of them that read so well for me. So I love how the suits have different color associations. This is a Thoth-based deck. If you know any tarot system, you can read it. Really happy with how this one turned out. I also finished making the tarot bag for it. I used cotton, that's my dog, with braids. And I just have something to wrap around. Because sometimes I don't feel like making buttonholes.